Hi, this is Carrie Schell from Anitque Quilter. This week is part 2 of Dreaming of Spring, and we will be creating the setting for the Tulip antique block using Electric Quilt. Last week we discussed how to create this Tulip applique block, and this week I wanted to show you how I matched the setting for the inspiration quilt. When you look at it, you can see that there is some full blocks. Actually, it looks like a 3x3 layer of full blocks. There's some half blocks just on the two sides, and then there is a narrow white border on two sides and a green border all the way around. So to create our quilt, we're going to start by going to the quilt work table. And we are going to start with a horizontal layout, so new quilt, horizontal. And if you recall, there was a 3x3 layout in the center, so we will start by that. I'm not sure what the size of the blocks were, but I've been assuming 12 inches. And then in layer 1, I can set all 9 of those blocks. Now, because I have that series of half blocks, I'm going to do that by creating them in the border setting. And so for my first border here, I'm going to use blocks. And because I only need them on two sides, I'm going to unclick the all, and that's going to keep the left and right and the top and bottom equal, but they are not going to work together. So for the left, I'm going to change it to 6, and when I click on that cursor button, then on both sides they are set to 6. Now I'm going to go back to actually to layer 2, and I'm going to set the block in layer 2, and the block is not the correct size, so to get it to the correct size I can use the adjust tool. And it looks like it's set to 10 by 10, so I'm going to change that to 12 by 12. And then I'm going to snap it into place. And it's not quite snapping where I want either, so I'm going to go check on my work table options, and then a couple of things. First of all, setting blocks. I'm going to change that so any blocks in this quilt come in at 12 inches by 12 inches. And then click on OK. And then for the snap settings, I'm going to snap to the 1 inch. And then for the snap settings, I'm going to make sure that Show Grid and Snap Block Position to Grid is clicked on. And now I can see that when I look at my positions, it's -12.0. That means it snapped in place. Once I've selected it, I can do a Control-C, Control-V to copy and paste it. And then I'm going to put that down and do the same. You're probably looking and saying, but that doesn't make sense because I only need a half block. One of the ways to get a half block is to use the clip up on the toolbar here. So while I've got my block and while I'm in the adjust, I can the first one is do not clip, second one is clip to border, and the third is clip to center rectangle. I want to use the clip to border of the quilt. And you can see what happens is it clips off the outside edge. And I'm going to do that on both sides here. and now I have half blocks. Now if you do go to print out the blocks, it's going to give you the full rendition, not the half rendition. Okay, once I have that done, I now need to add my white border to the top and the bottom. And so I'm going to go to the border tab, and now I'm going to, okay, first of all, back when I had done those blocks, I'm going to bring the top and bottom to 0, so that disappears. And now I'm going to add another border, and in this case I want my left and right to be 0, and I want my top and bottom to be 1.5. And again, put in 1.5, click on that cursor bar, and both the top and bottom will change. Now I want to add another border, and I am going to add that also just to the top and bottom. So I'm going to turn that left and right to 0, and I'm going to change the top and bottom to 1.5. Now when I go to layer 1, I'm going to color first the white tab, and I can just pick that up, and then for the other one I'm using the green, so I'm going to use the eyedropper, select one of the greens, and then color those two. And now I have to put the left and the right border. Here's the thing on the left and the right border. If I actually add it via the border tab, that then will change the blocks that I've put in because of the clipping feature. So what I am going to do instead is go to layer 2, and first of all I'm just going to measure that whole distance, and actually I think that is 42 inches actually, and it also says that down below. And now I'm going to set a plane block, and go to the tab down here, and one of the options is to add a plane block. Okay, so I've done that, and now I'm going to pull that into layer 2, and I'm going to resize it to, I want it to be 1.5 inches wide and 42 inches long. And I'm now going to drag that into place. And once I've got that, I can Control C, Control V to make another copy of it. And I can drag it to the other side. And now I can color it. And I can add to my sketchbook. And after I looked at this a bit, I was realizing it wasn't quite equal to what my inspiration quilt was. So I'm going to just use the Swap All Colors, which is this icon down here. And I'm going to start by doing the background in this white instead. And I need to go back to layer 1 to do that. And then I am going to swap all colors and use this for my green. And again, you'll notice that it's changing both layer 1 and 2 at the same time. And then for the tulips, I can change that. And so I think that looks a little bit closer in color value to my inspiration quilt. So I can add this to the sketchbook now. Thanks so much for watching. For additional videos and tips, please subscribe to my weekly newsletter at www.onpointquilter.com.